Democrat challenger, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is holding steady at around 20% support amongst Democrat voters in the latest primary polls.
And former Ohio Congressman Dennis Kucinich is officially coming out of political retirement as RFK taps him for campaign manager.
Dennis Kucinich joins us now with more from the trail. Dennis, great to see you this morning. Glad to have you on the program.
Wow. It's great to be with you. And hello, Bob.
Good morning to you. Tell us, okay, you're running the campaign from RFK Jr. As you guys see it, what's the path? How do you see the lane for RFK Jr. to step in and win the Democratic nomination over Joe Biden?
I think not just Democrats, but I think all Americans are waiting to be united, to put aside all the divisions that have plagued our country in so many years. And Robert F. Kennedy is a unity candidate. He's somebody who has the capacity to reach out and heal the divides which have tormented our country and have separated us, liberal, conservative, right, left, Democrat, Republican. We now have a candidate in Robert F. Kennedy Jr. who has the capacity to take America to the highest octave and to heal all these divides. So, I mean, I think the path is one that is how people feel about him. It's people like him. People have a sense of history about him, and they trust him.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the things I've always liked about you too, Dennis. I've always felt I don't agree with many of your positions, all of your positions, but I've always felt like you were an honest broker, and I feel the same way about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That said, you talk about this divide. I think Americans are coming together on a lot of issues that the establishment Republicans don't admit and the Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton warmonger group don't admit, and that is on peace. RFK Jr. and Donald Trump, two prominent candidates on both sides of the aisle, both agree that the war in Ukraine, for example, is something that we shouldn't be involved in. We can bring Americans together on that.
I would agree. And, of course, looming behind that is the danger of expanding war, is the danger of World War III. And it appears that the people who are making these decisions right now are not really mindful of the great threat that is in the background if we do not find a way to resolve this. And diplomacy is something that not just myself, but Mr. Kennedy understands. He wants America's role in the world to be cooperative. He doesn't want to be rattling sabers. He understands the cost in human life and the cost to the American budget.
Like, you guys need to understand the absolute polling disaster that Joe Biden is going through right now. Like, there's the big poll that came out with Biden losing to Trump, but it's worse than that. It's across the board. And I'm going to get to that here very soon. But watching Biden poll number dip so bad, seeing how RFK is surging despite the media blackout, I'm very interested in seeing how they're going to rig this. I'm very interested in seeing what they're about to do.
What did they come up with this time? Like, I can't imagine what they're going to come up with, but they are going to come up with something. Go ahead.
RFK, unlike Marianne, is a threat, man. Marianne was always a joke because she don't even oppose Joe Biden's most prominent policies as commander-in-chief, his foreign policy, the Ukraine war, his positioning on China and Taiwan. But we are RFK calling Biden out for the war in Ukraine. He's a COVID skeptic, to say the least. Like, that's dangerous for the establishment. So it's gonna be very interesting to see. Like, I think they're gonna just take this motherfucker off. They're gonna find a way to disqualify him. If you guys think they're gonna allow you to vote their power away, especially with a sitting president, I don't know how.
What do you think, though,
they're gonna do something
Nick, about the Dennis Kucinich thing? Do you think that's a brilliant pick as a campaign manager for the RFK campaign? Can you comment on that, sir? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's gonna make that big of a deal. Maybe it may shift some people who are more standard Democrats to legitimize this campaign, but I don't think the staff. I don't think these like individual staff picks are gonna matter. They usually don't. Biden's unpopularity and liberals definitely underestimated how unpopular war is. If you guys don't think Biden's unpopularity and RFK's popularity has nothing to do with Biden literally committing millions of dollars more for the Ukraine war, and he's cutting he cut his social benefits as he's funding the Ukraine war more. And with that said, I actually want you guys thought on this because this is why Biden is losing. And you had progressive and liberal feminists who abandoned Me Too, threw their integrity in the trash for what? I asked that question today. So if you're a feminist and you're like, man, fuck that Me Too shit, we gotta beat Trump. You abandon your own principles for this. Joe Biden proposes $1 trillion in social spending cuts after announcing $375 million more for Ukraine. You guys think that has nothing to do with the poll numbers? And then we're gonna get to that here very soon. You guys think that had nothing to do with it? You guys have anything else you want to?
Yeah, I would like to add real quick here. So all these people who gave up their integrity, they were never serious about all the stuff they were protesting against Trump in 2016 through 2020. None of these people were ever serious. They didn't believe, not half, but all of the stuff that they were saying. To be an actual activist, to be an actual organizer, you must be willing to go all the way to challenge the two-party system. And at least from my perspective, from Hardlands Media, all the people I've interviewed were never authentic. I was wasting my time, but let this be a lesson. So if Trump gets reelected, we need to cipher through the sand and the dirt of who is actually really talking and calling out the two-party system. Biden's unpopularity, Do Dissidents called it out, RBN called it out, Hardlands Media, Jimmy Dore, and the list goes on. And everyone in our audience right now, you called it out too. This is actually vindication. We've been vindicated. We said that this was going to happen. We knew that this was going to happen, and we have been proven to be factually correct. And this is no debate. So if you vote blue, no matter who, keep on getting triggered. But you know what? You're a sucker because you fell for the Democratic neoliberal trap. Simple as that. I'm not going to be nice. This is the real truth to it.
They're not used to post-Duopoly leftists who view Democrats the same as Republicans. They're used to leftists being friendly with them. That's not what this is about.
What are your thoughts, Do Dissidents, on RFK and Dennis Kucinich? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, on the question of how will they rig it, I think the reason they have laid off of him... I love
that phrasing.
...until now, yeah. I mean, I think the reason they've laid off of him until now is because there is an incumbent Democrat, and they're trying to play it like this is just unserious, right? They're trying to play it like we don't have to concern ourselves with RFK or Marianne now because we are the incumbent president. There's not going to be a real primary. These are not real challengers. That's why they're not even being included in most of the polls that come out. They're still polling Pete Buttigieg's, support, Bernie's, as if they have not already endorsed Biden, right? So the reason they haven't gone after them yet is because they still want to sort of prop themselves up as, of course, the anointed, inevitable nominee. If this were an open primary, they'd have started the smears on RFK as soon as he got off wherever he was on stage in Boston, at that campaign launch. They'd have started right away.
Before that.
And if you don't think that they can destroy this guy in 5 minutes with the Democratic base, not with the overall population, but with the Democratic base, once they start running those ads about autism and the vaccines and this and that, I mean, forget it. The guy has no chance whatsoever in a Democratic Party because of the Democratic voters and how they feel about those issues. This is what, I mean, I've been banging my head up against the wall for a long time, making this point to people. Just because RFK has crossover appeal, that's wonderful in a general election. It would be especially wonderful as a third-party candidate. Crossover appeal does not help you in a Democratic primary. You're dealing with the politics girl audience in a Democratic primary. If you turn them off, you cannot win. And so once they start running ads against RFK, he's done. He's done. They've laid off now because they don't want to take him seriously because taking him seriously this early makes them look very weak. And so they're trying not to do that.
To that point, now that's a great point. And the question was about Dennis Kucinich and his effect on the campaign. I saw some people in the chat that think he may be effective. Not saying he won't. Who knows? But
I don't think so. I mean, I like Dennis Kucinich, but the Democrats have marginalized him years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he backed Tulsi in 2020. You know, I mean, he's been, you know, he's put his thumb in their eye a few
Yeah,
times, and they've successfully marginalized him. He pulls no weight with the Democratic base, unfortunately.
Yeah, my point being, who do you guys think is more influential, Dennis Kucinich or Jim Clyburn in South Carolina?
Oh, right, exactly.
Yeah, but what matters?
Exactly.
Well, that's
You guys remember how they rigged it?
Okay.
What stays first?
well, that's it, and that's why it's sad seeing people who want to burn down the Democratic Party. Like, clearly, a lot of people who watch our show, I'm sure you get a lot of this. They want to really get behind this RFK campaign. And it's like, come on, man! How did you forget? Bernie had 1 million volunteers. 1 million volunteers.
Yes.
This is a joke. This is a joke. And even the way that he's polling right now, this happens all the time. The voters like to kind of be a little ornery when it doesn't matter. Kind of like Congress, right? They like to kind of get their backs up. Yeah, we're going to be rebellious. When push comes to shove, by the time they're actually walking in that voting booth, he'll be polling 5%, 6%. Maybe not with the general population, which is why if he were running third party, we might take him seriously. But this is just going to end up being an enormous waste of time and energy. I mean,
it's like I think he's just flirting. He's just flirting, is what you're describing. Flirting, and he's married. He's still married over here.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's it. He's running inside the Democratic Party. The fact that he calls Joe Biden his good friend. Anybody who's a veteran of the Bernie campaign should get triggered by that right there. That should tell you something right there. We got him flying around like every other rich fuck running around Washington with Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody seems to want to talk about that on top of everything else. Him, Bill Gates, Noam Chomsky, who hasn't been on that plane at this point? And they, at this point, as Keaton points out, they haven't even bothered with him. And he's only, people are going, he's polling at 19%. He's polling at only 19%. Look at who he's running against. Look at you. This is probably the weakest incumbent I've ever seen in my lifetime, Joe Biden. And if you're only polling 19% against him and they haven't even bothered to comment on your campaign, all it takes with the Democratic base, as soon as they turn around and say virus of unknown origin and he doesn't believe in the vitamins, that's it. It's over. It's over for him.